Hi, and welcome to Horror with the Horrors. I'm Morgan,
And I'm Theresa.
and today we are going to talk about real life ghost stories, specifically about ladies of the night and the venues that they haunt. And Theresa, you've been studying all about this, so tell everyone who's listening a little bit about what got you into studying ghost stories and then specifically prostitution and ghost stories.
A couple of years ago, I co-wrote Lost Aboard, which is about the ghosts that are on the Star of India in the San Diego Harbor. So we interviewed cast, crew, and volunteers to get their stories, and we interspersed them with stories from the logbooks. Are we? We are live?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. All right, just checking. We interspersed them with stories from the logbooks, and we created this really fun book that is just about true ghost stories and these creative nonfiction imaginings of what these people's lives were like.
Okay,
Like,
wait.
oh,
So
go
you
ahead.
have a book that's out
Mm-hmm.
on this ship,
On true ghost stories. Yep.
true ghost story about this boat called the Star of India. Isn't that the one like in San Diego that everybody can tour and stuff? And if they
Yeah.
want to buy that book, where would they find that book?
You could find it in all the places, including Amazon.
And
So
they would
pick up a
type in
copy.
what? Lost
Lost
aboard.
Aboard. Lost
What? Okay.
Aboard.
Okay. So you're researching this ghost stories on this ship because why? Like, did you see a ghost? Did you?
I haven't actually. I just like ghosts. I think we've all probably encountered something that has made us go, "Wait, what was that?" Um, I think smells are a pretty common thing that people encounter. Cigarette smells, perfume. You're sitting at your desk at work and you're like, "Who's smoking?" Well,
Do you
nobody
ever get
is.
like the touch? Like you feel somebody's like touching you? Like that's mine more. I get cold and then I feel like something's touching me.
Or you feel like you wake up and you're in the middle of the night and you're like, "Something's here with me."
That can be really scary.
Yeah.
Like if you go to, there was this abandoned place in my hometown of Pocatello. They literally took this building down because it was said that it was reported in the news that there was like a satanic cult who was actually sacrificing animals at this place. So when we were teenagers, we thought it was like super cool to go park outside and then you were going to like sneak in at night. And they would have like barbed wire and police lights and stuff because everybody did it. But you like drive up to the building and you could feel just like this heavy, scary, like I couldn't even get close to it. I just look at it and then, make my friends drive me home because it was so scary.
Yeah. So kind of like that. But back to your kind of the original question
Yeah.
too of how I got into this. So I did a tour in Alaska, and it was ghosts and the red light district. And they told us stories about the women who were in this town. It was originally a mining town. I think it was Skagway. It was originally a mining town. Popped up over the course of a couple of days. And of course, as the miners come, women come as well. Some women come, they're looking for husbands. Some women lose their husbands on the journey, they're widows. Some are sold a bag of goods, told like, "Come to Alaska and, there's plenty of men and you'll get rich." And some women just wanted adventure. So, and unfortunately, many of them did have to turn to prostitution. So that tour kind of opened my eyes a lot to these women and the life that they had. It was a very, very difficult life to be a prostitute in these mining towns. You were lucky if you made it into a brothel because you had a madam to protect you.
And that's where the tour was like in that, sorry.
It was, no, it was, yeah. It was in one of the old brothels.
Okay.
It was such a fun tour. But yeah, learned a lot kind of about these women and what they endured. And then I started doing more research, and these towns, these mining towns, either they're mining silver or gold, popped up all over the West. And, Virginia City's a big one. Jerome's a big one. Cottonwood's a big one. Coloma, Placerville, all of these.
Helena, where I'm from, where I went to college.
Yeah,
Very
Folsom,
haunted.
Sacramento,
Yeah.
all of these just mining towns popped up.
Yeah.
And with that came a lot of fun stories. And so I really wanted to focus in on the women. I really wanted to hunt down their names, tell their stories, the stories that have endured, especially if we can get a name and a last name. These were some powerful, formidable women.
Because you're saying if a woman ends up in a brothel, history forgets her.
Yes.
Usually, right? So you're saying to make her stand out among the thousands, hundreds, how many? What do we think scope is on this?
Thousands of women.
And of course, STDs in the West are rampant at this time.
Yeah, these women suffered STDs, pregnancy. They were beaten. The women in the brothels had to service a man every 15 minutes in the brothels where they were cared for, where they had a room.
So are you familiar with like where the term hooker came from?
No, I'm not. Tell me.
So there's a Northern general during the Civil War. His name's Hooker, and he did not believe his Union soldiers could win. So before every battle, he would bring in all these women. Well, he gave them all, they all gave each other syphilis and other STDs. And so you were more likely to die of a sexually communicable disease if you were under this general than from actual war. And so they would send them to the hospital. And then in the hospital, Hooker would still pay to send the prostitutes to the hospital to keep the sexually transmitted diseases going. So the word hooker actually comes from the Civil War general that was just this horrific war general.
Wow. That's fascinating.
So I'm sure there would be some like interesting horror stories, or hauntings maybe from obviously like Gettysburg. And
I'm sure. I mean, same thing. Women would follow the armies, paid or whatnot. So it's really is just a fascinating time in our history. I'll also say that a lot of the time that we're going to be focusing on as we talk tonight, this is when Queen Victoria was on the throne. So if you kind of want to think about your history and everything, the gold rush, the Comstock lode, all of that stuff, that's Victorian England at the same time. This is the
irony
West.
of that is crazy because it's like, oh, don't show your neck, don't show your. Ooh, it might be like sexy if they see your elbows, right? So,
right? Yeah, the women, they would, lift their skirts a little bit. They're the dancing girls, the idea of the dancing girls in the saloons, and yes, many of them were prostitutes as well, but they would. The way that they would dance was, lifting up their skirt and showing off their legs a little bit, So definitely a very, very interesting time. I will also say that with these stories, I'm still in the very, very early collecting the stories phases. And the history piece might be a little murky. So if you have a correction for me or something, please let me know. A lot of this is internet searches. And unfortunately, what happens a lot with the internet is that somebody will exaggerate or mistype something, and then that gets perpetuated over and over and over and over again. So
if you have any information, tell us in the chat, or if you have any other stories that you want to share, tell us in the chat. But then, sorry, Theresa, I just wanted to double down on that, right? And then we'll get ready to jump in.
Yeah, no, this will be fun. So, okay, our first one.
I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. And I have to read my notes on the screen.
Okay.
Because I don't have this memorized. So our first ghost is going to be from Georgetown, California. In Placer, that's up by Placerville, north of Sacramento in El Dorado County. This is the Georgetown Hotel and Saloon. and it was founded in 1849. Just for the record, the gold rush began in 1848. So this was built during the height of the gold rush.
Yeah, 49ers all the way, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So hopping place for prospectors. It was literally built for the miners and was used by the prostitutes as well. So we're going to talk about Myrna. So Myrna was a prostitute. She was very well known in the town. I have not found a last name on her, and I've found several different spellings of her name. So if you have any information, let me know. But she died when she fell off the balcony on the second floor. Now, questions about... Exactly. There's a lot of questions about her death. Was she pushed by a boyfriend or a client? Were two clients fighting over her and she fell over kind of in the midst of all of that mess?
Or another woman because she wanted her business.
Maybe. You never know. And then I also saw a couple of reports that she committed suicide as well. So the truth is we just don't know. And here's really kind of the sad part for me that really, really brought Myrna home. She lived in the Georgetown saloon and hotel because they found her photograph albums and her sketchbooks afterwards. So, that to me always cements this was a real person. And I'm still trying to get pictures or something of those sketchbooks and photograph albums. So again, if you have any information, please let me know. I've been hunting for that one pretty good. But let's get to the ghost parts. Okay. So she hangs out in room number 5. She likes girly things.
Okay, wait. We can go to the hotel today.
You can. Yep.
It's called the Georgetown Hotel. And if we get room number 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Get room number 5. Ask for room number 5. So she likes girly things. She likes to move things around, especially items like makeup, just items that women would have. She likes them. So those items kind of tend to disappear, reappear, or be moved. She also likes to turn the water off and on. She likes to turn the lights off and on. She brings with her the smell of tobacco, so people a lot of times will know she's around. She's also actually been seen. Ghost hunters have captured pictures of her. She's described as a frail-looking woman in period-appropriate clothing. And they've caught some EVPs that they've associated with her too.
So this is like multiple people.
Oh, yeah.
We're saying to our audience, like, go there. This will happen to you.
Yeah. There's been a ton of ghost hunts looking for her. So they've got EVPs. Most of the EVPs are kind of the typical stuff. Yes, hello, that type of thing. But they've also heard a female voice saying the word Lulu, which is fascinating.
I told you, another one of the girls pushed her.
Maybe. I like where this is going. So, yeah. And that's Myrna up at the Georgetown Hotel and Saloon in Georgetown, California.
How did they know it's her?
Because so one thing with these stories that happens, and when we get to Jerome, you'll know. When events happen a lot of times at hotels and then there's spooky things that happen, people kind of put the two pieces together. They may not be, let's be honest. We don't know if the woman that they've seen, that they've managed to photograph, is actually Myrna. It may be a totally different woman haunting for a totally different reason, but that's kind of what makes these stories kind of fun.
Right. Well, and you find somebody who actually did die at the balcony. That part's factual, right?
Exactly.
She threw herself or somehow passed away on the balcony. And then people even today feel the presence, which always brings to the question, like, is it the ghost or is it the trapped energy, or what causes us to feel, that connection? If you believe in that, which we think it's fun, so we're open to it, right?
We think it's a lot of fun. You also have the interesting phenomenon one thing, hotels. I see you, Hotel Del in San Diego, and I know you guys did this because it's well documented you did. You guys, with your ghost, that was a marketing ploy. We know that. Except that room, and I'm so sorry, I'm missing the name of the ghost. Say it in the chat if you guys know. It's a very famous ghost. That she's at the Hotel Del. She's haunting a very specific room there.
Where in San Diego?
In the Hotel Del, down in San Diego and Coronado.
Okay.
That was a marketing stunt. She never died there. She was never left behind by a jilted lover and took her life. But the room that is associated with her is so phenomenally haunted because people came and wanted it to be haunted over and over and over and over again. So
Kate Morgan.
Now it is.
Kate Morgan.
Kate Morgan. It is Kate Morgan. Thank you, whoever that was.
Thanks, Brad. Room 3327.
I should have known it was my husband helping out.
Yeah, because he's the best.
He really is.
Yay for supportive husbands.
Right? So it's Kate Morgan. Total marketing ploy, but that room is haunted. Has all the phenomenon and everything. So there's also that too.
Like, what are we bringing to it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we creating the reality?
Yep.
Okay, tell me another one.
Okay, here we go with another one. All right, let's do the Washoe Club in Virginia City. So this one's a very famous ghost. So Virginia City was built in 1859 in Nevada after the discovery of the Comstock lode. So that was silver, not gold. Let's see here.
But huge amounts of it.
Huge, absolutely huge amounts.
Yeah.
So it's the oldest saloon in Virginia City, built in the 1970s, and it was a meeting club for men only, and it was part of the Millionaires Club. So it was designed so that these rich men who, were making a fortune in silver had a place to go and hang out and chit chat and head on up to the second and the third floor because that's where the prostitutes were. And I'm so sorry for this.
They're always like up high.
Yep.
Okay.
And here's what
wonder why.
Right. They probably needed some substances, but they actually probably did.
No, that's real, right? Because they're real lives. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. These women were referred to, and this term is horrible, but it's factual. They were referred to as soiled doves. Isn't that just, yeah.
Just the word soiled.
I know. Like, oh. Anyways, so men to go up to their rooms, they took a spiral staircase. It was an exclusive spiral staircase up to these rooms. And this was a full brothel. So these women were more protected than they were in like the husband alleys and that type of thing.
Which it's like a $1 million club, so it's more.
Exactly. It was a little bit more exclusive.
Supposedly that doesn't mean it was better necessarily, though, right?
Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
They probably they did have more protections if they had a madam because there was security there. So if they were beaten or something like that, there was often not repercussions. Probably not much of ones, but anyways. So the most famous prostitute there at the Washoe Club, her name is Lena, and Lena fell down the stairs in the 1870s. The club was not very old when that happened. She's described as young and blonde. I saw that. Yeah. There again, same thing. Did she commit suicide? Was it a slip and fall? Was she pushed? I saw one report, and I'm hesitant on this one. I saw one report that said she was being raped and was running away, and she hit the spiral staircase and fell as she was running away. I'm not so sure on that one, but yeah, still going to report it. But she's seen on the spiral staircase wearing a blue dress, If you go to the Washoe Club, there's actually a picture of her that somebody took. So you can check that out for yourself. But very, very frequently seen a woman in blue on that spiral staircase.
It makes like, it'd be such a cool premise for like a book or a movie that like every single haunting is an unjust death and they haunt it until someone solves it. And then somehow that releases the spirit or something.
That'd be cool, especially, ooh, that's a fun idea. Especially with these ones where it would be hard to figure out what actually happened. But a lot of times you can. You just got to keep digging and digging and digging into history, talking with people and everything. That'd be fun. That's a good idea. All right, you want another one?
Heck yeah.
Okay. Let's do one more in the 1800s, and then we're going to jump to the 1920s.
Ooh, okay.
We're going to do San Diego.
Okay.
So, and Ida Bailey. Ida Bailey owned the Canary House. The Canary House was demolished, and the Horton Grande sits on it now. The Horton Grande is very, very haunted. So if you're in San Diego, check it out. It's beautiful, and I've stayed there twice. The rooms are very, very affordable. So Ida Bailey was a red-haired madam in San Diego, and the area that Gaslamp is now used to be called the Stingery, which was the red light district. This was in 1887. She worked with her girls. Her girls were considered higher class. So she dressed them like they were going to the opera every single night. So they would walk the streets in opera clothes. They spoke very well. She was very firm on educating her girls. There's also reports that they spoke French. I don't know how true that was, but you know, but she was very big on making sure these girls were not just having sex with the men, but they actually could have like intelligent conversations as well. It was more companionship than just sex. They referred to their clients as gentlemen callers, and she had the funnest marketing idea. On Sunday nights, she would dress all of her girls up, take them in an open air carriage, and ride up and down the neighborhoods waving at all the men. Can you imagine the women, the wives, how scandalous it was?
Oh my gosh.
So she continues to haunt.
I was like, flatten their tires, but it's carriages. There's no way you can flatten tires.
But can't you just like get that in your head of like these women waving at all the men and being like, hey, honey, see you again. See you soon. And the wives are like, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
So Ida, as a ghost, she likes to hang out in room 209. So you can ask for that at the Horton Grande. She also does like girly items too. She does kind of tend to move things around. There's the common turning off and on faucets, turning off and on lights and that type of thing. But what she also likes to do is she likes to knock on the door in room 209. And if a woman answers, there's nothing there. But if a man answers, he'll see her in a red dress with all of her red hair. Isn't that cool?
Has Brad gone there and seen her?
No, the couple times we've been, we didn't stay in room 209. Next time we go, we'll ask.
Yeah, you mentioned you've been there, so that I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean,
yeah. So she's supposed to be a very, very nice one. People report just feelings of, especially toward women. So she'll show herself to men, but women will report feeling comforted, feeling warm, feeling loved, and that type of thing. And so that's associated with her as well.
And how did she die again?
That I don't have the information on.
Oh, we don't know.
I don't know. She might have just died of old age.
Or an STD.
Very likely.
1800s.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's do
2 more, right?
2 more.
Okay.
Let's move to Jerome. So Jerome was another mining town. It was copper this time, and a little bit later than the gold rush, more in
Is this California
1900.
too?
Arizona.
Okay, because we have a Jerome, Idaho that's a mining town.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So for those of you familiar with Jerome, we're going to be talking about Anna Hopkins. Anna Hopkins, the amount of information on her is crazy. There are multiple books written about her. She was powerful. She was a formidable woman. She definitely had a temper, and she probably was crazy. So she and her husband, Clarence, were landowners. They were very, very large in Jerome. They owned a lot of stock, and they worked a lot in the mines as well. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is one of the earlier stories about her. In 1914, she and her husband decided to evict some tenants. They hadn't paid rent. So rather than, going and telling them, hey, time to get out, she and her husband went. She went with a club, and she beat the crap. A club. And she beat the crap out of the woman. 1914.
This is very, very antiquated for 1914.
Right? So the couple, the Finneys, they refused to leave. And on the 23rd, the pipe bringing water to the house had dynamite set against it and blew up. They still refused to leave. So then on the 25th, they set fire to their house, but the Finneys put it out. Then on the 28th, an armed man came, broke out all the windows, and beat them up again. Then lawyers got involved, and kind of what I was reading was that the trail kind of ran cold, but eventually the tenants left. Obviously so. They were making them very uncomfortable. So definitely.
I wonder if they were tenants or if they were family who believed it was theirs, or
maybe.
It makes me think it's like they thought it was their home.
It may be. It may be. So a couple years later, 1917, Anna and her husband get involved in the miners' strikes, which was a very, very big deal at that time. So a lot of stuff happened, a lot of strikes, a lot of protesting and everything else. Anna sided with the miners, and she was voted the president of the Jerome Pacific Mining Company in 1917, a woman.
They can't even vote for 2 more, well, in the nation. Probably in Arizona, they could, but not in the nation for 2 more years.
But she was voted to be the president of this mining company. 1917, a woman able to do that.
She's got, like you said, that's got to be powerful, smart, clever, manipulative, all of it.
Yep. In 1918, she told her husband, go enlist. And he went to Washington, D.C. So hanging out in Washington, D.C., he says, hey. Yep. He says, hey, 2 school teachers, I know you. You're from Jerome. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Let's go out to dinner. So he and these 2 school teachers, Lucille Gallinger and Lillian Bear, went out to dinner. There was another gentleman with them too. Harmless. Went out to dinner. Nothing else appeared to happen. As far as we know. I've read other stuff too. And he comes home. He mentions to his wife, hey, well, I was there in DC. I saw Lucille and Lillian. We had dinner together. So Anna goes to the school the next day with a horsewhip and beats up Lillian Bear. I know.
Probably in front of her kids.
Oh, yeah, in front of the kids and everything. Takes a horsewhip to her. So nothing really happens there. Anna and Clarence kind of continue their lives. They do end up moving to LA. For the next couple of years, their relationship goes on the rocks. There's reports that either Clarence was having affairs or that that Anna was paranoid. Hard to say. She did try several times to have him committed. So, who knows?
She tried to have him committed.
She tried to have him committed. But they still
This
had
girl was no nonsense.
Hang on here. Hang on here. It's going to keep going.
But you know, they did that to women all the time back then.
They did. They did.
Yep.
So
I'm
sure she was like,
I'll play that game too.
Yep, I'm sure she was. So they still kept interest in Jerome. And in 1921, they came back and they stayed at the Connor Hotel. Anna, walking through the lobby, saw those two school teachers. They were having breakfast together. No big deal, right? She went up to her room. She grabbed a bottle of carbonic acid.
What is that?
It's acid used in mining. And she flung it in the face of Lucille Gallinger, and then leaned forward with her thumbs and rubbed it into her eyes. Right?
Who's the ghost? Which one?
Anna. So it was a huge trial. She went on trial for this.
Well, yeah.
Was found guilty. There was questions about whether or not she was insane, obviously.
Yeah.
She did serve some time in prison. She did make parole and was told leave Arizona. She did.
Did the poor woman ever be able to see again, or did the acid?
She did survive. She was able to see. Her sight was fine. She had some minor scarring around her eyes. Yeah, crazy, huh? So Anna did end up dying in 1951 at 71 years old. She also got a nursing diploma, so go figure.
Well, but that kind of fits.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Because when I was researching like serial killer women, they get nursing degrees, a lot of them.
Sure. I can see that.
Like for men, the most common profession I read was that truck driver serial killers was the most common, but for women, it was nurses.
Sure. Oh, that gives me an idea too. I will write that down later. So let's move on to the ghost part. And I couldn't resist. I know Anna was not a prostitute, but I could not resist telling this story. So the ghost part is that she is haunting the Connor Hotel. She has been seen in rooms 1, 2, and 5. The story that is told is that her husband was having an affair in room 1 and with Lucille. And that's why room 1 is so very haunted. Most of the hauntings actually are pretty tame as far as this stuff goes. It's a radio turning off and on. Again, you got the lights, the movement, the flickering. And then there has been images taken, ghost photography, and people claiming to have seen Anna Hopkins. There's a ton of pictures of her. So it does look like some of those pictures are comparable with the ghosts that are seen. So who knows?
Okay.
Right? All right. And let's stay in the 1920s. Let's head back to California and let's go to Monrovia. So Monrovia
right by me. That's by where I live.
I know. We're going to have to do a field trip and get some pictures done. So Monrovia, let's talk about the Aztec Hotel. So Aztec Hotel, and I didn't grab any pictures for this live stream because I didn't have permission to do so, and I didn't want to get into trouble by anybody. But seriously, if you're watching, go Google the Aztec Hotel. It is the strangest looking hotel. It also has a lot of really weird, conflicting history. And the modern lens, it's also racist. So I'm going to put that caveat on it. It was built in 1925 with a plan being that Route 66 would go right by it.
Right?
It doesn't. It actually is a different, it goes up a different street on Monrovia.
Oh, because I know where it is. So it's right by Route 66.
It's right by. But in the 1920s, it was really important that it was on Route 66 and not off of Route 66. So the architecture, even though it's named the Aztec, is Mayan, Incan, and Toltec. but I'll use that term really loosely. It's based on those. The reason it's called the Aztec and not the Mayan is because the owners were like, no one knows who the Mayans were. We're going to call it the Aztecs because everyone knows who the Aztecs were. That's what I mean about with a modern lens. We're like, ooh, ouch. Shouldn't say stuff like that. The Aztec immediately was under attack by religious groups and women's groups because inside of it is a Mesopotamian image of a god of lust. The Aztec since opening has open, closed, open, closed, open, closed. It has changed owners many, many times. It's been difficult to get funding. And recently it's constantly under renovation. Sometimes you can tour it, sometimes it's open, sometimes the restaurant and the bar attached to it is open. A lot of times it's not. Constantly under renovation. So the ghost that is associated with this one, and this is a really interesting one. Her name, the name that she has been given is Razzle Dazzle, which I am sure is not her actual name. From what I can find, that name came up when a medium came to the Aztec and said that was this woman's name.
Razzle Dazzle.
Razzle Dazzle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the reports I saw of her said that she was a prostitute. I did a ton of research on the Aztec. I fell down way rabbit holes on this one because I was really trying to figure out who this woman was. So most of the reports were that she's a prostitute. I also saw that she was a bride, and I also saw that she was an actress too. So perhaps the Razzle Dazzle, I can kind of see that with an actress. So this woman died by hitting her head on the radiator. Again, don't know if it was during sex, if she was thrown, if she tripped and fell. We just know a woman died, probably a prostitute, when she hit her head on the radiator. Now, here's the most interesting thing about it. So it's room 120, although I did see reports of room 129, but I think that's somebody's typo. And the heat doesn't work in that room. Now think about how much renovation has been done on this hotel over the years, different owners, different people trying to fix it. That doesn't make any sense that nobody would be able to get the heat to work in this room. But continues to be, the heat doesn't work. Combine that with the ghost hunts that have been done, the EVPs that have been collected, and the mediums that have come and confirmed a woman is haunting and she died hitting her head on the radiator.
Brings a whole new meaning to having steam in your novel.
That's a good one. I like that.
Wow.
So, isn't it fun?
So at the end of this, like, you've done all this research, you've dived into all these stories, and like, what is your, like, you know, what keeps you so interested? Is it just the thought that we could all be haunted? Is it?
Oh, I think it's the fascination with ghosts. I think it's the fascination with history. And I think it's just trying to acknowledge that a lot of these stories, unless we're telling them, they're going to get lost to time. These women, these formidable women, are going to get lost to time.
So it's not just about the haunting or the excitement or going and feeling like, will we end up haunting someday, or is haunting real? All of that, but also this deep passion to tell the story about the horrible lives these women would have had.
Yeah. And that is going to be the biggest challenge. So I'm working on a new book. The working title is Ghost Hookers because I like weird working titles. And that's going to probably be the hardest part of telling these stories, is balancing the realism of how hard their lives were with the making sure that it's interesting and not a really heavy, hard book. So It's going to be fun. It's also about a time in history I really love. I love the Victorian era. I love the Wild West. It's just a really fun time.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like women ended up in these really weird precarious positions for a lot of different reasons.
They did.
And still do.
And still do. Yeah. It's gotten better for women, but it's still not quite there yet.
It's crazy to think that, like, if hauntings are real and people end up haunting, that somebody we know could end up being a ghost, or we ourselves could end up being a ghost. Like, I never really think of it like that.
We could. Well, and then that leads to questions of what is a ghost? Is a ghost an entity that still has intelligence and controls their environment? Is it just a little bit of a memory that's left behind? And that's where you get the repeating ghosts, the ones that just kind of same time, you just keep seeing them do the same thing.
So like the women are moving around what they think is their makeup, or turning on what they think is their radio.
Exactly. So in fact, I was just talking to my mom today, and I took a really interesting class on researching ghosts. And so naturally with that was ghost stories too. And a very, very common ghost story is in modern women's bathrooms, where you're in your stall, and in a stall next to you, you hear the door close and lock, but you haven't heard anybody come in. And I think about that that's one of the janitor's most annoying things. And us as women too, we go into a bathroom and we're like, why is this door locked? And you look underneath and you're like,
that is what is so crazy. You get stuck.
Yeah. So yeah, that could be a ghost stuck in a loop. She just keeps coming into the bathroom, locking it, and poof, disappears.
That reminds me of Harry Potter.
Right?
Well, thank you so much for taking your time to share these amazing ghost stories. And if you're interested in reading about the Star of India and Lost Aboard, please check out Theresa's book, Lost Aboard. It's like so incredible and so many great stories. And you'll tell us more about this book that's meant to come and some of the other hauntings that'll happen, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm definitely aiming for a next Halloween for it to be out.
I love it. And if you do or don't believe in these stories, you should go check them out at a hotel and then tell us what happens.
That'd be fun. Definitely join our Discord. Stay in touch. Let us know.
Thanks,
everybody. Take care.
Bye. That was so fun.
It really was.